Hi everybody, Mike Hancock here, and today we have Rainer Petek, who is sitting in the snow just outside his home in Germany. So it's fantastic, Rainer, to have you here today. Extreme mountain climber, speaker par excellence in French, and of course, expert in organizations as well. And Rainer, welcome. Lovely to have you on the call today.
Many thanks for the invitation, Mike, and hello to all.
So the first thing we notice, folks, when we look at Rainer is that he has a different setup than what most people have on Zoom, and he's also using a different camera. So he's certainly not using the camera built into his Apple or anything like that. So we're going to get into that, Rainer, but firstly, why don't we get into a little bit about who you are and your background. So for those of you that haven't met Rainer before, I did mention extreme mountain climber, and that's been a passion of yours your whole life. So why don't you take us back to the very first mountain you climbed and the reason why you wanted to do it?
Yeah, I love to do that. So just thinking during your introduction, when did it all start? It's now really about 40 years ago when I started climbing. So I'm 56 now. I'm an Austrian living in Germany, and about 40 years ago, I had a crucial experience in the mountain. I always loved to be in the mountains, go there for hiking with my parents. But I remember that moment when my hands, for the very first time, got in touch with rock. And it was magic for me, and I knew this is my stuff. I want to become a climber. I want to become a rock climber, and I just not want to become a rock climber. I want to become the best rock climber I could become. So this was the starting point, more or less, for me.
And you became an amazing rock climber, but I remember from your story, and it's interesting, when I touched rock too, but mine was rock music. I knew what I wanted to be. But when you were doing it and really at the top of your game, you still had doubts, didn't you? You still wondered if this was something that you were really as good as what you were at it. What was going through your mind? I remember you saying this in one of your keynotes.
I'm not sure if I got your question, Mike.
So the question was, even though you were great, you still had doubts of how good you actually were, and you still doubted what you could and couldn't climb, as I recall. That's correct, isn't it?
That's of course that's correct, but I think that's more or less my my personality. I always think there is a little bit more we can reach, and I always made the experience that there are some boundaries, there are some limits, but they are very far outside. So we have to strive, we have to go far to reach that. So I never thought I really got to the limits in climbing, and I also know that I'm not yet there in speaking or consulting. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot room for improvement, and this is really, for me, is essence of life. It's not just about reaching some success or what others might maybe state as a success. It's more about getting the best version in a field you could possibly become.
Well, that's led me into segue into another question, but I want to stick on mountain climbing for one more. And that is that when you started celebrity mountain climbing, which means, you know, taking other CEOs and people who have not climbed mountains up the mountain, and I know the story, what was sort of the transition or the three things that you think that enabled somebody who had never climbed a mountain before to be able to get to the top of something difficult? What was it you taught them? What was it they were prepared to do that got them there?
Yeah, I think what really is crucial is having the encounter with someone who sparks the passion inside of you. A lot of clients I talked with afterwards, after they were climbing with me, said, "Wow, the first things we did were so impactful. They were so powerful that it really kept them going." I think this is a crucial thing. The second thing is really what I think about is maybe the most powerful tool as a leader is seeing potential in others they are not able to see at the moment. And we all need some people of that kind. They are able to see things in us we might not see at that moment, and I think this is crucial. And it's the same for me. I also need that counterpart. I need that mirror, because nobody maybe is able to see everything that he or she would be capable of doing. Yeah. Then the third thing, when you asked about three things, I think this is really just constantly working, constantly striving to get better, constantly improving your skills, your abilities, your mental strength. So it doesn't come without work.
Absolutely. Let's segue into speaking now, and I think they're great points, because I wrote them down in the chat. The first touch point with something or somebody is either impactful or not. It either makes a difference or not. And then for others to be able to see in you what you can't see in yourself is really important. I mean, we provide that role for so many people who are on this call, but and you guys provide it, many of you provide it for other people as well. And then the third thing is just constantly chipping away at it, just constantly coming from different angles until you find the thing that works for you, I think is also part of the journey as well. Let's move to speaking. So you came off the mountain, you moved into speaking, and you really built a very, very successful keynote speaking business. But now along came COVID, and you were actually very well set up in 2020. I think you had one of your best years ever, if not your best year ever. What allowed you to be so well set up that something like this global pandemic came along and didn't really impact you as much as it impacted a lot of other people? What was that thing?
Yeah, part of it, I think, was just good luck. Maybe not good luck, but it was somehow being prepared and having worked strategically the years before, 2018 and 2019, preparing a shift that was very important for my business, as I would say it from today's perspective, because and you know that very well, because we have talked a lot about that, and you have helped me to structure it a little bit. Looking back, my business evolved somehow, on the one hand, coming from one pillar, which was organizational development, more of a consulting, which is more about observing, which is more about asking questions and somehow facilitating a change in organizations. And on the other hand, a little bit later, out of my history more or less, and out of some feedbacks from clients I got, in a very organic way, speaking came up, and there were more or less two pillars that didn't really, they somehow played together, but not that well as they could have. And really sorting this in a very strategic way and bringing it much more together, supporting in a mutual way, was really crucial for me. And doing that work, I also prepared a different approach to my business model, which was not so much not so much dependable on the time invested, but more focused on the value that I bring for my clients. And so really shifting from having fees in amount of days, I really just had my business model based on the value I deliver, and shifted with some clients to a container model, or sorry, a retainer model. And this really helped me, because at the beginning of 2020, two big projects were came into the pipeline, which was prepared 2019, 2018, and this gave me a little bit of good base to build the rest on that, and pivot my business to virtual speaking, virtual consulting, building up a home studio, doing the book Masters of Uncertainty, which you know very well, I think. So this was more or less what helped me.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to talk about a few of those things as well. But just for the point of it, if you're happy to share, what's been your biggest, in terms of euro contracts so far, in terms of a package? Do you have a number for it?
Yeah, 300K.
300,000 euros in one package. So I see Joni nodding there, because I've been telling her she's too cheap. So there's a few other people laughing now, Rainer, on this call, because I've probably been telling them they're too cheap as well. But I sincerely want to congratulate you for charging, the types of values that you can get, and you can get them, and everybody can get them in their marketplace as well. Rainer, you really jumped in. You're a very quick mover, and I think it's part of the reason why you're such a skilled mountain climber is you've got a very, very high attention to detail. And we could make jokes that Germans do, but you're Austrian, so it's not going to fly. But I have to say to you that your attention to detail with going online and getting virtual has been really interesting for me to watch, because you really embraced it very quickly. And, if you look, guys, at Rainer's shot there, it's a very unique shot. He's got the blurred background, and it works really well with the angle. The chair's fantastic. The new home's fantastic, and all of those sort of things. What sort of upskilling did you have to do to become really at the top of your game virtually, which you are, compared to what most people are around the world? And we'll talk about your new keynote in a minute. But how difficult was that for you, and what did you have to do?
In fact, it was really difficult for me, because I'm the kind of a person who does like to have a strong connection to my audience. And so naturally, I would say I feel more comfortable in a boardroom, in a conference room with maybe 30 people or 50 people. It's not that I'm fearful when I have 200 people or 600 people or maybe 1,000 people there. But what I really like is having or feeling and sensing this connection, this relationship with my audience. This is really vital for me. And this was for me the biggest hurdle in virtual speaking and in virtual work anyway, because I think it took me a year to develop a natural attitude towards the camera, and the feeling that I couldn't see my audience at the virtual keynote. But now after 1 year really working hard, beginning of this March, I had the feeling now I'm getting used to it. Now I'm there. So it's really, this was the most challenging part for me, to build up that connection via the camera, building up a relationship with people I do not see, but somehow get a feedback about the chat or some interactive tools like Slido and so on. And the other thing really was that I always, or I'm convinced of, that when you charge high fees, it's about quality in every detail. So I want to get heard in a proper way. I want to get seen in a proper way. The light should be good. The camera should be good. The background should be somehow nice. And this is what I'm working on. And I'm always looking at it from a different perspective. Look at it like a CEO would look at you, and he has to pay hundreds of thousands of euro for your support. You can't go there with a shitty mic or some kind of light that hurts in your eyes. So I don't want to deliver that experience to my clients.
Yep. And what did it cost you, and what was the sort of learning curve in terms of time before you felt relatively comfortable with the new way of you doing things?
The cost, do you mean in terms of budget, or what do you?
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of budget.
I think in terms of budget, it's you do not need more than maybe 2,000 up to 3,000 euro to get top equipment. So that's not a problem. That is really the easiest part of the exercise. The other thing was really hard, at least for a half a year, and really getting to the point where I really felt comfortable was almost 1 year. And it was 1 year of really constantly working and improving and getting feedback and doing things and doing it again and again. So this was really the more difficult part for me.
And did you have anybody advising you? Who did you seek advice from to get set up?
Different people. I really like to be in touch with different people and just getting different advice. I'm more or less convinced it's important for you on your journey to get really a variety of perspectives from others that help you to become unique you. If you only have one advisor for 5 years, you would probably become a copy of somebody. But so getting different perspectives is so important. And what I did do is, on the one hand, getting or having contact to people that were very, very skilled in all the technical aspects. So in terms of the video switch, I think most of you might know the Blackmagic ATEM Mini video switcher. I was one of the first. This was one of the first gadgets I bought just to make a powerful screen experience during my keynotes for my clients. This was one thing. So having a contact to tech people, and on the other hand, I really worked with the director from a theater. Yep. So she looks at the screen completely different. She looks on the screen in terms of, this is your stage, and how do you arrange that? So how many headspace do you have up to the top? Because it's a complete different if you somehow there, so somehow there, or somehow there. So this is this makes a difference, and really just paying attention to those things. So for me, I avoid almost all the time being in the center of the screen. I want to be a little bit on the side. I don't want to be confrontative. I want to provide, especially in the setting we have right now, a little bit of a depth of the room, and it should be fuzzy, that you can feel the depth of the room. So these are the things that I take care of. Or just let's talk about the setting right here, because we have it right now. The light is much higher than the camera. The camera is on eye level, slightly above eye level, in order not to look down on people. They have the feeling I look a little bit up, and the light is still higher. And the only reason is I don't want to have the mirror effect of the light in my glasses, and you would see it. So
yep.
yeah,
very good.
Those are the details I take care of.
No, great details. And I want to ask you about your new keynote presentation, because just to give everybody a heads up here, that Rainer's previous keynote that he'd done for several years, although being upgraded versions of it all the time. And how many times would you have given that keynote in a year, Rainer, the previous keynote?
I would say
prior to COVID.
Prior to COVID, I would say 60 to 70 times.
Yeah, 60 to 70 times a year, and it's fantastic. It's very interactive. It's very unique. Uses a lot of movement in the keynotes and things like that. It's fantastic. But I've seen some snippets, and I've been meaning to actually contact you, so I haven't got around to it. So this is my first time. You've got a new keynote basically, which is holographic. So and you've been working on that. So you've got the holographic mountains that you essentially climb while you're giving your keynote, from what I've seen. Tell me a little bit about how that came about, and also about what you learned through that process, and have you used it so far, and what's been the feedback?
Yeah, so I'm currently in midst of the process, so I don't have any really mature result I could present right now. I hope to have a version 1.0 at beginning of June or so, and hopefully a proper version at end of summer. But the thing is that I'm constantly striving to improve the experience for my audience. Might it be on the screen, might it be on the stage? And it was very natural for me when a common friend of us, Paul, met, I might say it, Sigi Haider, you know Paul. We both worked with Sigi, approached me. He has a speaker bureau in Germany, is also the founding president of the German Speakers Association. And he came to me and said he has new tech guys around, and the holographic technology is getting much more mature, and it's not so expensive anymore. Wouldn't you be interested to be one of the first speakers to develop that? And I said, of course, yes, because that's my nature. You mentioned before, Mike, that you consider me being a quick mover. I know from myself I'm a slow mover. I need my time. I have to react fast in order to have the time to be at the summit with the others who are much quicker than I am. So I have to be one of the first to have a little bit of an advantage. And therefore I started of course, just by saying yes, let's do that. And of course, it's a little bit of an invest, but yeah, let me put it like that. It costs about I think 18,000 euro. But you and I know that my PowerPoint presentation I currently use is about 35,000 euros. So I have invested really a lot in that, in just not only creating that, in getting the helicopter recordings from Red Bull of the mountains I did climb, and going with a film team to the Dolomites and climbing up there to have all the effects I wanted to have in that presentation. So it was not such a shock for me to say yes to that investment and start it. I'm in midst of the process, and I'm just really deeply convinced that it's so important to always set the bar a little bit higher. and just having the idea of possibly being capable delivering a keynote in Australia without leaving my home and appearing there at the stage of Irina Yashin Show, let's say, and one of her events on the stage as a hologram was just fascinating for me. And thinking of that not only in terms of having an exciting stage performance, but also having maybe a completely, or being able to deliver a completely different screen experience, which is more Netflix-like for the people. Yep. On the screens, on their laptops, in their home office, would be just, from my point of view, a competitive advantage, and I would be able to maintain my already high fee also for virtual keynotes, which a lot of clients still consider being webinars, but they are not webinars. They are somehow screen experiences, and I want to deliver that. So I'm in midst of the process. It's very interesting. I'm not sure if it will really pay off. I just am ready to put the necessary budget involved at risk, and let's see if this is something really exciting.
I think it will be, and I think what I've seen so far is it has massive potential. And I want to acknowledge you and congratulate you on doing this. I think it's, you are definitely leading the field globally. I mean, there's, in terms of speakers, there's nobody doing this really. And I mean, I bet you wish you had have chosen a career like knitting or, maybe writing a book rather than climbing mountains. You wouldn't have had to pay all that money to get the aerial shots. But I really want to congratulate you on it. And another thing that when we're in France, and I've got very fond memories, as I'm sure you and Paul do as well, and Landy does, when the four of us were in France together, just not quite 2 years ago, or whenever it was, we came up with the idea for you to do a coffee table book, Masters of Uncertainty. And I meant to grab my copy of it actually before this, and I don't know if you have one handy, Rainer, do you? And if not, I can grab one. He's got one right there. So I want you guys to see this book. I meant to grab it beforehand. And Rainer, there it is. Yeah, maybe you can talk people through the process of the book. And it is a coffee table book, and you've got other books out there. And I want people to feel the weight of this thing, and then what it's done for you as well in terms of, your positioning, your branding, and what you learned through the process would be really useful.
Yeah, so I remember France very well, not only because of the good food we enjoyed there together in the Dordogne, and mainly because of the substantial conversations we had about developing our business and just having a great time together. And there was one very crucial session for me, and I think Landy came up with the idea of delivering substance to high-fee clients, and substance really in terms of it should be something that is really physical heavy. And this was more or less, to be honest, the main idea behind this book, to really have a heavy book. So I created something really heavy. It's not the main part of the or the main reason for the book, that it has a lot of weight, but I thought about really doing something that has weight, and this is really a haptic experience. And so I decided, on the one hand, to make really a high quality book, and on the other hand, really do an inspirational book I had never done before, really using all my own photograph and imagery I'm having, or I had taken while climbing the mountains, but also working together with other professional photographers. And I must really say, it became really a wonderful book, and it's bilingual throughout, German and English, and I have a lot of images in it, really fantastic landscape, but also really good action images. This is one I did on my own, or I did while being a mountain guide. But let's have a look for maybe some stunning photos I got from others, from a professional climbers. So just take it. This photography is really, these are breathtaking photos, and I wanted to combine inspirations with powerful pictures and giving my clients an overview about all the perspectives I could bring in for them. So giving them the richness of my background and all, putting it together in one book. And also I thought about how could it get even more value. So I decided to do it bilingual, like, from some airlines, Lufthansa in Germany, they have international passengers, they have German speaking passengers, and therefore everything is bilingual, and they only have one board magazine. And this was more or less the role model for this book. So it's German, it's English, it's the same content, 2 languages, and this also means much more weight, much more substance, and I always had in mind, this is not a book I want to sell hundreds of thousands of copies on the global market. This is a book for my most important 50 clients.
Yep.
And for the rest, it's fine if they get it, and if it brings me some feedback and some possibly new clients. But it's really a book for maybe 50 to 100 clients, and it was really so fantastic. One of my main clients at the moment, I just sent them the book at the end of year 2020, and they were one of the clients who gave me a big contract at the beginning of 2020 before COVID. And I was not sure if they would renew that contract again in 2021, because they haven't used their possibilities due to COVID in the year 2020. And I sent the book to the board of to the executive board, and to 3 people, a CEO, CFO, and COO. And after Christmas break, they just came back to me and said, "Hey, we want to continue the work with you."
Fantastic.
Yeah. So
well, that made if nothing else, that made the whole project worthwhile. What did you learn about yourself, or about your business or anything like that, through doing a project like that? Because doing a book's one thing, but a coffee table book's something else. And I think everybody on this call can do a coffee table book. There's no doubt. It doesn't have to be, yours is 267 pages or something, if I remember rightly. So it's not a small book. It's a very large book. But what did you learn?
Yeah, maybe the most important learning is not to be afraid to do something like that. Because maybe, and in that respect, really our Platinum Mastermind in France was really crucial for me. I always had it somehow in mind, hey, it would be great to do an inspirational book with a lot of imagery, but does it really fit to my business, to my clients? Would I maybe not change my hard-earned perception as a top consultant and getting back to be seen just as a climber anymore? And this was more or less the fear I had, which prevented me of doing that earlier. But it was really insightful that it just it leveled up my game completely.
Yeah, isn't that funny though? Because I think that's a good message. I remember, when I first started speaking, I wouldn't tell anybody that I was a musician, because I felt it downplayed my professional side of things. And then once I sort of got over that, after a long time, maybe 6 or 7 years, and I started telling people about it and making it part of my brand, I can't believe how many corporations would say, we booked a band for the night just so that you could play with them. So please hang around after the event. And I remember I flew to Darwin once in Australia. I don't know if anybody knows where it is. It takes a long time to get there, I can tell you. And I knew I was playing with the band that night. So they'd asked me what songs I wanted to play. So I picked some Australian songs that I knew. And when I got to the band and I met the guy, I realized that I'd met him before. And I realized that the band was full of like the top, probably 5 of the top 10 Australian musicians of the time were in that band. And I went, oh shit, I wish I had have practiced. So, you know, it was crazy how accepted it became that because you've got a skill or an ability that you think, is this going to weaken my brand because I used to be a surfer, or I used to be a musician or mountain climber, or whatever you used to do. In fact, it really enhances your brand because people find you much more interesting and they want to engage with you more and things like that. Rainer, I want to talk about firstly, congratulations on the book. It's a stunning book. I really, really enjoy it. And, you know, there's very few people we've told to do coffee table books that have followed through and done them. And I think yours is a great example. And just recently, I think you sold 300 of them to one client as well, which was also a nice bonus. Also that you could ship out the stock to one person who wanted to get rid of 300 copies of your book. So that's fantastic. Let's talk about your business model. So typically your business model is driven from you being on a stage, and then everything else happens from that. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is what I really aimed for, because it didn't develop that way. It did develop more or less in 2 different streams. The one hand was driven from referral business as an organizational developer, a job I like, a profession I like, work I really appreciate, and clients were satisfied with my support and just wanted to have more of it. And on the other hand, 2006, I wrote my first book, The Northwind Principle, which more or less started the speaking business. And there was more or less really 2 different business streams, just developing and somehow nurturing each other. But what I really worked on and had to aim for is really using keynote speaking intentionally to build up business. And this is really something I had learned the last 3 years maybe, that you can do that, and not only seeing speaking business as having one keynote, being on a stage and entertain the audience, and everybody says, great speaker, great convention, let's continue with our business and let's see who is the speaker next year. So really more or less adapting my speaking message, my keynote maybe to the specific needs of the audience I have. And I really enjoy, since a few years, really enjoy the small conference room with having a leadership audience of 30 people. I enjoy it as much as being on a big stage and having 600 people. I mean, I do have 600 people, and they are completely heterogeneous in terms of hierarchy or functions or job levels. It's not so easy to get follow-up business as really going into a small conference room, talking with a leadership team with one challenge that unites them, and tailoring your speech directly for them. So, after learning that, after understanding that I would have to adapt my message really much more often to the specific needs of the audience, this really helped getting follow-up business out of speaking.
Yeah. And I think you bring up an interesting point too, because we realized after spending a long time working in America, where the audiences are big, and that we were actually making just as much money out of 20 people as we were making out of 200 people. And that's when we start to go to like our mastermind process. And, you know, there's many people on this call that have come in through our mastermind process, and they've joined us through our mastermind process. And you know, these days, our mastermind still averages $1,800 a seat in back-end sales. So, I mean, we aim for 10 people at a mastermind, and we normally have 10. Sometimes we get 11, sometimes we get 9. So, you know, that's an $18,000 speaking gig, and there aren't too many keynote people in the world getting paid $18,000 to speak. So, and then if I look at the moves further than that, in what other people spend, I mean, some of those people have spent over $100,000 with us over the last, you know, X number of years. So, and that's come from smaller venues. So I definitely agree with that. I'm interested to understand from you, do you have, when you say you adapt your keynote, because I know there's a lot of speakers on the call, and everybody thinks they adapt their keynote, but primarily it's every time I hear it, it's the same keynote. When you say you adapt your keynote, do you have different slides that you interchange in and out depending what the accent of that audience is, or is it brought together in the follow-up, or how's it done for you?
So, you know, my signature keynote around the Note 1 principle typically consists of 3 stories. And if I tell all those 3 stories, I'm not really able to adapt a lot, because it's so rich. It's the storytelling takes so much time. And what I have learned really is that you have to have the guts leaving things out, just taking only one story and bringing a completely different slide set for the transfer message in, which would have no place, which would make no sense on a big stage. And just having this for a smaller group. So I did so, I think 3 weeks ago, for a small or relatively small Austrian company, but it was really tailored to their needs, and it was virtually done, and they said, hey, it's fantastic, it was perfectly for us, we want to continue the process with you and work with you. It's not a big contract, not they will not be one of my big clients, but they will do a lot of continuous work with me, and therefore it's I think I would say a 20,000 euro contract that's perfectly fine, done completely from home. So it's just the effect of having made the message specific enough for them.
Yep. And when you how do you bridge, or how do you build the bridge from giving the keynote to going into the consultancy discussion? Do they approach you, or do you approach them, or what happens? How does that work for you typically?
Typically, I do not approach anybody. So typically, I get asked for giving a keynote or giving a speech, and typically I do have referral business or repeat business all the time. A leader I work with changes the company and gets the CEO of the next company. I know I have a new client,
Yep.
a new corporation. But I really do have. I do have my clients on my iPhone. I do not have a big mailing list or a big CRM system. I do have names on my iPhone. I know I have their cell phone numbers, and I'm in constant contact with them. I really take care of somehow building and nurturing the relationship wherever the journey takes my clients in their life, in their professional career, and try to maintain the relationship. And I would say it's not more than 50 to 100 people that are really important for my business.
And I think, you know, that comes down to, and some of the people on this call will know this, Lundy talks a lot about, You just need a list of 100 people. And so few people, when you ask them to produce a list of 100 people, can actually produce a list of 100 people. And so, you know, that nurturing process, Rainer, when you say you nurture them, what does that mean? What do you typically do?
Well, what I typically do, or what I typically did last year, was just beginning of March, when COVID hit, and more or less my calendar was empty. My calendar was empty. I knew I had a little bit, due to my big projects, I had a little bit of a deposit, but the calendar was empty. And I thought about, I can't go out to my clients and trying to sell them something now, because they are in shock. They are afraid of anything. And I just thought about, how can I help? How can I help in that situation? And just thinking about that question, how can I help? I came to the relatively simple answer: what really would help them would having a platform for exchange of experiences, of best practices. What should they do right now in that situation, in terms of leading their people, in terms of maintaining the spirit of the company, and so on, and so on, and so on. And I just invited them for, and they didn't have to pay anything, just for having every third week, having an online exchange of top leaders. 12 people. I called it a glass wine online. Just having 1 hour, 1.5 hours in the evening, having a glass of wine together and just talking about the situation. What is helping right now? What do your people need? What is a best practice in that company? And just helping them and providing the platform. And I would say that just doing that and not having the intention directly to sell them something in that sessions just strengthened the relationship. And it was almost natural that I sold about 700 books of the new book in autumn to them. Just I offered the book to them as a Christmas present for their leadership team, and almost everybody bought it. And let's give it to the people and follow up business as soon as they recover, as soon as they are ready to do something. Is very natural. So it started everything with that. So I'm not so looking for intentionally bringing people in situations to sell them something. I just bring them together, try to provide some value, and let the sales happen afterwards somehow.
Yep. Great. Look, I've got one more question, then I'm going to open it up for everybody else. But and Rainer, it's been truly brilliant this morning, as expected, as usual. My question is really, what do you see the immediate future, the next 1 to 2 years, for the speaker consultant coach? What do you see from your viewpoint of them being successful? What do they need to do? Maybe top few things that you think that people need to do in order to maintain and keep their success up over the next 1 to 2 years.
I think the main challenge will be for anybody to be successful in a new environment, will be to uncover the secret to having truly amazing virtual encounters. I'm not there still yet. I have some hypotheses. I have some assumptions. What is the difference between a boring online workshop and a really magical conversation we can have together? There's a huge difference. So I think this is really one of the most important things for the future, to be able to create some magic on the screen, to have an encounter like we would sit together in Namibia. I see Ian over there, Morpheus, Genius. We had such a great time together in Namibia last year. And just creating something that is similar to meet each other somewhere in the world and having really a truly amazing time and having a time of great value. So this is my number one challenge, because and this brings me to the second part I'm convinced of. I don't think that even if COVID would disappear in 6 months, that we would go back to as it was, and just jumping on a plane for every meeting and being 14 hours on airports and somewhere to have a 2 hours meeting with a client in Hamburg, which is a city here in northern Germany. We will do that virtually. So at least, and this is what I'm also aiming for, it's doing at least of 50% of my business virtually, online. Yep. Just without leaving the home studio. And that's not because I don't like travel. I just thought it was too much before, and it doesn't pay off for everything we do and need. So I think really creating a virtual magic conversation, virtual magic encounters will be one part, and the other part combining that into a hybrid way of work. And I'm not talking about hybrid meetings with having persons in the room and some on the screen. I think about a hybrid process. How do we combine physical, in-person work with virtual work in a way that has much more impact than all we did before? Because what I really have noticed, this is really that my work before COVID was much more event oriented and event focused, and it's much more process focused right now. Yeah, it's much easier to bring people into a process, into a continuous process with using all the virtual tools we have. And this is what I think will be a great part of being successful in the future as a speaker, consultant, whatever.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Folks, it's open for questions. Any questions that you would like to ask Rainer about anything that he's spoken about this morning, feel free to pop up your hand. I'll have a look at the gallery here and let me know. I'm sure Joni's got a question. I can see it forming on her lips. Yes, Joni.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Telepathic now too, he is. Rainer, I absolutely loved your glass of wine online and how you can help your clients. And that cross-fertilizing of ideas and your top 12 clients is superb. My question is, I think if I had done that last year, it would have gone down very well. I didn't do it. This year, I'm finding people are just wanting to get offline as quickly as they can at the end of the day. So that overwhelm and saturation has set in. And I was just wondering to myself how I could do what I should have done last year and do it differently this year. And I hear you in terms of amazing and Zoom interactions, but have you got any thoughts about that pure Zoom and online fatigue and people not wanting to spend a minute more than they have to?
Yeah, I think really that it pays off if you really take 12 people you want to have, 15 people you want to have, and think about it. You create something really amazing for hundreds of people with an amount of creative thought and focus, like a big event, and do everything to make it a truly outstanding experience for the 12 people. I did something with my colleagues I consult with a lot in projects. We invited our clients to do a know-how transfer session about the best insights we had in the last 12 months. And it was beginning of March. We thought about what could we bring in. We really tried to make an outstanding invitation with a graphic designer. It was like a big event. It was just for 36 people, but we made a truly amazing agenda that really inspired them to be part of it. We involved them in a preparation process that they were not used to. It was not just a Zoom meeting. They had to go to a Padlet and bring in their expectations and ideas for the session on an online pinboard. The Padlet, I'm not sure if you know that it's just a tool, but using it for a lot of them, it was, oh, you could do that in a completely different way. Preparing such a Zoom meeting, we asked them, where will you participate from? What is the exact location? Because you will get something physical. You have to tell us that. And we sent to them a really excellent bottle of wine and some goodies. And I must say, they sat with us. It was for, I think, 1.5 hours. There was the agenda. After 4 hours, 60% of the participants still were joining us in a networking launch, which was not the Zoom meeting, which was on Wanda, which is I can share the tool with you. It's more or less a virtual networking launch where you can join different circles of conversations just by moving your mouse or your cursor, and you will appear in a completely different video conference if you just move your mouse and you go to another circle. So you see like the hallway of the conference room where are people together. You can move there, you can move there, and we had just a great fun. And there were a lot of people saying after 4 hours, hey, now I get the feeling how we should have created our online programs to make them a success. And I think the main reason why people have the need for offline is not only because we haven't met each other for such a long time. It's mainly because most of the online meetings are boring.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
Thank you. I'll look up at Wanda. That sounds very interesting. Haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I put it in the chat.
Ian.
Thanks, Mike. Rainer, I'm really intrigued about your hybrid approach, and could you maybe tell us more about some of the things that you do in other than in the actual sessions, in the actual maybe virtual presentations or whatever? What are some of the other tools that you have that support that? Because that really intrigues me, and I think I'd like to do more of that.
Maybe if I would share a thing that comes to my mind right now, and I would say this is maybe one of my secret weapons, is really using video email. I'm not sure if you have heard about Loom or if you heard about Dub. Just really instead of writing 100 Christmas cards at Christmas, it doesn't take much more time to do 100 personalized videos, and the people will say, "Hey, this is the greatest Christmas gift I got from all of you. Really outstanding. Nobody does it. You are not on the table amongst 200 others of your competitors who send Christmas cards to them. They look at your Christmas video up to 10 times, and they can't believe it. And they know it's your personal Christmas video for them, because you tell them their name. Merry Christmas, Hermann Sommer, one of my clients. And he knows this is just for him. It can't be for somebody else. It's not an automated thing. it's just for me. And this is really great. And if you do that, not only for birthday wishes and Christmas wishes and New Year's wishes, if you do that also for delivering some offers or ideas or concepts, I do this usually with Loom. Then I send them my PDF file and make them a 10-minute video where I explain them my thoughts behind the offer they get or behind the concept they get. And what I have learned so far, preparing a meeting in such a way adds so much value. CEOs are really proud of working with me because they have something that is really different to others, and they send this to their team and say, hey, this is the consultant we work with, and let's have a look at it, that you are prepared. That's really fantastic. And this is so one thing I really would recommend everybody make use of video, not only in terms of thinking about Zoom meetings or video calls. It's really use personalized video as much as you can. This is really a game changer. And on the other hand, it's really just about preparing people or doing a follow-up after in-person meetings, and think about how you can combine that, how you can best use all the tools we have, because I have the feeling the clients are really ready now for that, because they have seen the advantages we can have working together. Preparing an in-person meeting with an online pinboard, doing some preparation work on a collaboration tool like Miro or Colorboard or Concept Board or Mural, or how all the whiteboards are called. So this is really of great value, combining all the tools and combining the approaches.
Fantastic, thank you. Any other questions? Rainer, thank you so much for being on our call today. I noticed we've had a couple of, or one person just join on the call, probably from New Zealand, where you've gone into daylight savings over Easter. So make sure you check out the recording of this call. It'll be up on the site in the next couple of hours for you to do that, because there's really, I think, just some fantastic information that's come through on this, and everybody's nodding and saying yes. So Rainer, thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and then Rainer, we're going to rejoin on. I'll send you a different link, because I'll follow through on what we were going to do beforehand. Thanks, everybody, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.